Welcome to the Sunday edition of G's One of One, where we talk all things GLP-1, or GLP, GIP, glucagon, peptide, you name it. So we're gonna get started in a minute. I'll just give a few people time to filter into the to the stream. Basically, I don't have a specific dialogue for tonight, so I'm pretty much going to go ahead and talk about a few different things that I actually witnessed throughout the week, throughout the GLP-1 streets. We'll get started here shortly. We'll give a few people time to filter in. I didn't schedule this chat like I usually do. I had a lot going on, including another Zoom for my other business. So, it's a bit different today, doing this following the Zoom. So we'll get started here shortly. All right. I was going to do this as a video, but then I decided, I said, I might as well go ahead and go live just in case, somebody pop on and they have a question or they want to ask something. So, we decided to go ahead and, do the traditional live for the obesity warriors. So we'll get started in a minute. I'll give it a couple of minutes just in case somebody decide to pop in due to the fact that I didn't schedule it. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. I just wanted to give a couple of minutes in case somebody wanted to chime in or jump in. Like I said, I would have done a traditional video because I haven't done one in a while, but I decided to just go live just in case people had some sort of questions. But I'll go ahead and get started. So just just surfing the GLP-1 streets. I felt like I decided to, try to look and see what it is, what was out there that I wanted to talk about this week, because personally, I'm on my week 59 now, or heading into my week 59, and I'm now on a 12.5. If you'd have told me, what's that, 13 months ago, that I would get to 12.5, I probably would have said you're lying, because I always swore that I would never actually do a 10 or a 12.5, and I would kind of like stay below that. But here I am, right? And the thing is, you don't know, right? You don't know. So I would caution anybody to actually, speak, too soon, when you're on this kind of journey, because, you kind of got to go where the journey takes you, right? Based on, and sometimes you have to pivot, right? So what I would like to say is that this is a journey that is, about your own personal biology, right? So it's not one size fit all. And I think that what we have become accustomed to, sort of kinda, right, is comparing, dosage, actions and all of it. You know what I mean? When in all actuality, we probably shouldn't, because this journey is a highly individualized one because of our biologies, right? This is probably one of the only places, where you got 25-year-olds, comparing themselves to, 55-year-olds, and you just shouldn't, right? Because there's so many factors as to why somebody like that, of that age range, of the age ranges, would have so many different things going on and have a different need for medication, right? The thing is, it almost is comparable to, people that are shaming people for being on GLP-1s to begin with. The inter-community fighting usually is about titration or lack thereof, or how it is that you do your lifestyle modifications. When in fact we should give our opinions, about certain things, right? And not look at one way as the end all be all, right? I know my way is not the end all be all, right? I can just explain, things from my perspective based on my own journey, right? With results, right? Because you do have to have some results to back up your opinions, right? So personally, I'll say, I believe I'm about to enter my week 59, starting today. I believe I did. And I'm down 96 pounds. I'm just about 4 pounds, or a little less than 4 pounds, from being no longer classified as obese, right? And man, I never thought I would see the day, of not being obese. But I'm right there, and I'll end up where I can end up being what they call just overweight, right? So there's probably a 40-pound measure between being overweight and at a healthy weight, right? So a healthy weight for a 6-foot individual is right around 180 pounds, right? I have no desire to be 180 pounds, right? Because I don't think I'm ideal, because I've been an obese individual for, since a child, right? So that's my biology, right? My biology is not ideal. So I should aim for what makes sense for my personal biology, and that is to be, at a satisfactory weight that does not pose danger to my health, right? Because some would say with that statement, well, wouldn't you want it to be a healthy weight? Yeah, but for me, right? Because now there are parameters, right? There are parameters to what that is, right? You can't just be anything and say, hey, I'm healthy, right? When in fact you're clinically obese, right? When I was clinically obese at 300 and almost 20 pounds, that was not healthy, right? That wasn't healthy. But I'm on the precipice of being 220 pounds, which would be overweight, but healthy. You know what I mean? In fact, uh, one of the long-term obesity surgeons said that those of us that are in a body that has been obese for the majority of the life of that body should not aim to be, who is that? Teddy. Hey, what's up, Teddy? Hey, what's going on? Paul in there too? So the thing is, we should not aim to be ideal, because we aren't. I'm not ideal. And I actually like not being ideal, because even my personality is different, right? So that's the thing. Why not dare to be different, right? I was having a conversation with my wife in the car earlier today, and we were actually on the way to dropping her off at an event, because we have our event coming up, within the next month and a half. And, she was going to have a good time to promote. And I was having a conversation telling her, at the end of the day, if you weren't you, who would be, right? If you were not you, who would be, right? Nobody, right? And if you have faith, right? Because I'm a faith-based Christian, right? So I believe in God, and I believe everything was written. So therefore, I feel like you should be who you are, regardless if it's different, right? Because it was already written, and why not just be the best of who it is that you are, and fall fully into that? You know what I mean? Instead of thinking about, or questioning, I should say, what that looks like, right? Because you are who you are for a reason, because nobody's designed like you. My channel is called G's One of One. right? So I wholeheartedly believe that. G's one of one, because I'm one of one. There's nobody quite like me, right? There's nobody quite like you, right? We're all designed differently. So that brings me back to the GLP-1 journey. When I got on this journey, it was because the doctor told me, you have a 7 out of 10 chance of having a heart attack in the next 10 years, right? And I said, well, I have at that time, and that was more than a year ago. That was almost, that was a year and a half ago. And at that time, my daughter probably was 5. She's 7 right now. And I said, well, I got a 5-year-old, you know, I'm at the time 43, right? And you telling me by the time I'm 53, more than likely I'm gonna have a heart attack, right? So I realized that I had to do something about that, right? So what I had to decide to do about that was to get on the GLP-1 and lose weight. Why? Because I tried every other type of weight loss and it didn't work for me, right? Now, understand that the GLP-1 is a tool, right? It's an amazing tool, but there are some things that you have to also do in conjunction, like eat the right foods, work out, and things of that nature. Teddy said like that, and I think it's important. I'll come back to it, Teddy. I'll come back to the comment because it was pretty quick. So because I'm horizontal, but I'll come back to it. But yeah, so my thing is, I feel like in our community, I don't know, sometimes it could be for content. It could be just to keep everybody interested, right? We have this competitive nature of if your journey, or your dosing or your habit is that, it's inferior to this, right? Or, oh no, why are you doing that, right? And what led me to that is like some of the prominent creators, some of the those average creators, like myself and others, have had content in which they talk about dosing, right? They talk about where they are, and almost because, and I'm trying to set this up the right way, because there has been side effects, with, let's say, higher dosing, to come out like anhedonia, or the brain fog, and this, that, and the third. They talked about them, and this is a lot of creators, right? These things are natural, right? It's natural that you actually are going to have side effects. Why? Because you have your very own biology, right? But those that are on a higher dose because they need to be, should be okay being where they need to be, right? I'm on 12.5 and I'm actually loving it. I don't have the brain fog. I don't have some of these other things that people have mentioned. Anhedonia, I felt like I experienced that when I was on 7.5. So, I don't need to wait till I get to 15 or 12.5 to get that. That's, come and go on. That's par for the course, right? That's not a big deal. Now, there's levels to that, right? Some people might have it worse than others, and you do what you got to do, right? But as for me, right, again, I said that when I started this, the doctor told me that it was 7 out of 10 chance that I would have a heart attack, by the time I was 53, right? Because I was 43 at that time, in 10 years. So this is what I would implore people, is to remember your why, right? When you got on this, you took this leap, right? This wasn't, just so you could, lose a couple of pounds. This was because your life was probably in danger. At least mine was. And that's why I'm on it. So these side effects to me are trivial. They're trivial, even at higher doses, right? If you need to be at a higher dose, you get to that dose and you do what you got to do on that dose and you stay on that dose. Why? Because it can save your life. So if you feel a little, fatigued or foggy or, this, that, and the third, hey, is that or death, right? Because that's what it was for me. So to me, I'm okay with that. If I do end up being a little bit foggy, then I'm going to be a little bit foggy. But I'm here. Foggy and all, right? So let's not be so quick to, well, I think Jen calls it poo-poo on the higher doses, right? You go where you need to go to get what you need to get done. Period. Don't care about like the fact that I'm on a higher dose. So what? But I'm so sick of hearing that of, oh, well, you're on a higher dose. Don't get that high. I'm going to go wherever I need to go. I'm going to go as high as I need to go, and if I need to go to a different drug, I'm going to do that too. Why? Because that's what it's for. That's what it's for. What are we talking about? Like, oh, make sure you go down. Don't stay that high. Why? For what? Where am I going? Death? Is that where I'm going? No. So I'll stay on the dose that I'm on, and I'll go up if I need to. Point blank, period. Because that's where I'm at. I'm 45, not 25. Like a lot of the talking heads that get on here and be, poo-pooing people that's going up. I'm going to go where I need to go. Because it's personal. This journey is personal to me. Your journey is personal to you. So what we can't do is keep doing the blanket statement of, well, if I came down, you probably should think about it too, because there's side effects. Yeah, but my side effect was the loss of life. That was my side effect. Losing my life. And I'm not willing to do that. So therefore, I decided to go where I needed to go. I've even said myself at one time, well, I couldn't see myself at the higher doses because of what I thought it might do because I had an irregular heartbeat. But now learning of the cardiovascular benefit, right, and all that it has done for me, the higher doses have been a heaven sent. Because I'll tell anybody, and I tell them all the time, I didn't go to a higher 12.5 for weight loss because I was already doing that. I did most of that on 7.5. Even though I still got more weight to lose, I'm at 12.5 because the food noise had returned to the point where I was acting on it. And I knew that that's not what I wanted to do. Now, naturally, I can't titrate up forever. We know that. But this is what I mean about the common sense things, right? We know I can't go forever and titrate. But I can go as far as what's been deemed safe and available, and that's 15 milligrams. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. And if that's what you got to do, you get your 15 milligrams, you hold it loud and proud and high, and let people know that's what I'm on, because that's what I need for my biology. I don't have your biology. You're you, I'm me. So I need it for me, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I wanted to start with that because I've seen so much of that, like, where it's like, oh, you on that high dose. You got to come down with that high dose. There ain't going to be nowhere else to go. And man, listen, if you think it ain't going to be nowhere else to go, you ain't been paying attention. Because there's so much weight loss treatment that's coming our way, from monthly to different hormones to, like, it's so much we don't even know yet. Think about 3 or 4 years ago when a lot of the OGs started. Look at where we are today. Now think about 3 or 4 years from now. There will be so many options. There's so much money involved in this that there's going to be such a plethora of options that you ain't going to know what to do. There's going to be weight loss treatment. There's going to be more weight loss treatment than there are probably hypertensive drugs available. Coming soon. Why? Because it's that big of a business. So I wouldn't worry about actually utilizing the treatment to its fullest potential if you have to. If you have to. Now you have some people that have varying assistances, like bariatric surgery. Some have the sleeve. Some have had gastric bypass, and they're also on these medications. So again, there's another conversation because those individuals aren't functioning the way some of the other people are. So when they say, hey, I'm not going to go to the higher, I understand. Because they're already utilizing two different resources. They've had bariatric surgery and they're on a treatment. But when we start together, a lot of times we do that comparison thing where it's like, okay, well, they're not going and I can't go. But you don't have weight loss surgery. You don't have a sleeve working for you. You only have the treatment. So you use the treatment to the best of its ability, whatever that looks like for you, because only you are inside of you. So I'm not saying that anybody that says, hey, let's not go to the highest dose because of, it may cause, certain side effects that would be life altering, right? Because that's something that you don't want to do, right? Because you got on it to save your life. But that's not what's here, right? These doses have been studied in trials to not be at that dose life-threatening, which is why I think that they halted those trials for the 20 and the 25 and kind of pivoted because they probably felt like that was probably a bridge too far with all of the other options that are available, right? So with all the other options, they might not see the need. You know what I mean? So I say all that to say, be proud of, what it is that you're doing for your journey. Look at your results and, kind of lock in on yourself, and cut the, don't worry about the noise, right? Because you're going to hear a lot of noise because, again, a lot of people do stuff for content, right? And to keep people's attention. I understand it. And, again, it's free will. You can have, your speech because this was mine, right? But again, I felt like, some people that are on these higher doses need that reminder, because people would love to make you feel a kind of way because you want a 12 or a 15, but I don't think that makes any sense. If somebody's on a 12 and a 15, in a lot of cases that are working with their physicians, because I suggest that, it's because you needed to be. It's because you needed to be, right? Because it's not working for you, right? So also what we want to be careful of is comparing, apples to oranges, right? Because men aren't women and women aren't men, right? So me as a 6 foot, 320 pound man, I probably would need a higher dose than a 5 foot, 170, 80 pound woman, right? So we do have to look at that too, right? So our dosing will probably be different, right? Because we have a different need. It's almost like, and it's not the greatest comparison, but it might take me a bottle to get drunk, and it only take you 2 glasses, right? So, and that's a real thing though, because obviously, if you're going to compare alcohol, sometimes it would take a little bit more to trank somebody that has more weight, because medicine, realistically, if you're going to dose it correctly, it's better to do it by weight versus age, right? So. But anyway, back to the conversation. I just think that we should be proud of what it is that we do, especially if we see the result. You know what I mean? And not let people rain on your parade because you're on a higher dose. There's nothing wrong with being on a higher dose. So use the dose that you need, and stop worrying about people, and because there are people that are saying, well, I shouldn't go up to that because they said, no, forget about what they say. What do you need? Talk to your physician and talk about how you feel, right? And if their thing is titrating down because they feel a kind of way, I'm okay with that too. I'm not poo-pooing on their parade, you know what I mean? I keep saying the poo-pooing because Jen said that, and it stuck in my head when people were talking about, when she was on the 15, and she's like, why are people poo-pooing that? I love my dose. And I understand what she means, right? Because they're so quick to put, oh, you way up there. Yes, they are. That's what it was made for. Do what you need. And stop worrying about, people saying, we're trying to get back down. For who and for what? This almost reminds me of, people going for those unrealistic goals, you know what I mean? And ending up, like going from a body that they hate to a body they don't like so much, right? And what I mean by that is you at a high weight, you try to lose weight, and you keep trying to lose weight beyond, what is recomposition, right? To a weight that actually might be frailty, you know what I mean? Because you're still searching for something that you can't obtain without building muscle, right? You can't obtain a certain look or physique or aesthetic without also building muscle. It's a part of it. You can get very small, but you pretty much gonna have the same body, but it's just gonna be smaller. It's gonna just be a much smaller, same body. That's the best way I can put it to you. But that kind of reminds me of that. Like, you know what I mean? So I understand it. And I'm all with people explaining the journey, but let's not make it so to the point where it's like, okay, I'm doing this and so should you, because if you don't, then you're going to be in trouble because you ain't coming down off that high dose. You on the high dose because you need to be, right? I'm on 12.5 because I need to be. 10 wasn't working for me for the food noise, right? I'm a big guy. Well, I was. I guess I'm a smaller big guy now, and 12 is working amazing for me, right? And what I mean by that is I don't have the food noise. I'm actually able to go to the bathroom without using tons of, the Mago 7 and the Miralax. I haven't used Miralax in quite a while. I still do my Mago 7, a couple times a week. But for the most part, on the 12.5, I'm now experiencing what a lot of people say. When you get to that dose, you can actually use the bathroom again and not be so constipated. Because I was constipated on the 12, on the 10. But the 12.5, I've actually been able to go to the bathroom regularly, which is amazing. I don't know why that is, but my hope is that I can remain here because I like the dose. I really like the dose. And I've started to lose weight, right? Again, right? So at 223 pounds, like I said, got to get to 220 technically to be under 30 BMI, right? At my height. So if I get to that 220, which would be 100 pounds down for me, 219 technically, right? Because I was 319.6. That would be amazing because, like I said, it would reclassify me to just overweight and not obese, right? So my ultimate goal is to be about 198 to 200 pounds, right? But if I only get to like 210 or 215, so be it, because I still more than surpassed the first goal I set out to be, and that was to lose 100 pounds. And just think about that, because losing 100 pounds is like such a humongous goal to a lot of people. Like, so a lot of people wouldn't dare say that. That's triple digits. To lose 100 pounds back in the day, you go into like a Weight Watchers or to a obesity office, and you see like this one person or two people in their office in a 5, 6, 7 year span that actually accomplished that. Now you got people accomplishing that on a regular, Well, I won't say a regular, but a lot of people accomplish that, And if you want to talk about percentage, usually that's people that's lost over 30% of their body weight. You know what I mean? They've lost 35, or so percent. You know what I mean? And that's huge because that's bariatric surgery numbers. When you hit 30% and above, you're talking bariatric surgery, point blank period. That's what that is, right? Because of bariatric surgery, you lose anywhere from probably 40 to 80% of your excess body weight, right? Of your excess body weight. So that's the body weight beyond ideal, right? So just for easy math, if 200 pounds is your ideal body weight, right? And you're 300 pounds, right? You know what I mean? You're 100 pounds overweight, right? So if you lose 80% of that, right, that would be your excess body weight, right? So, and when you talk about total weight, that's generally around 30 to 35%, sometimes 40% of your whole weight, right? So yeah, so you're talking about bariatric surgery numbers, and I hit that this week because I'm exactly at 96 pounds. I'm exactly 30% loss. You know what I mean? On this journey, and I did it in 58 weeks, right? And they boasting that for retatrutide. They boasting that you could lose about 30% of your weight in 68 weeks, right? So I'm actually 10 weeks ahead of schedule if I was using retatrutide on average, if that makes sense to you, on average. So that means that if the average weight loss is around 30%, right, for that, and it's 22% for Zepbound, right? So, and we know people are hitting 25 and 30% on that in a year, then you got to know people are hitting like 40%, on Reta. You know what I mean? Hitting 35, 40, 45% weight loss. So that's why that they're probably going to have that being for BMI 35 or above, which makes sense, right? And possibly just for people that's in clinic obesity, right? 40% more, because you need to have a significant amount of weight to lose to be losing that, right? So, and I'm gonna say for the average person, probably be at least 250 pounds, male or female, right, to be losing that kind of weight, because you're going to probably lose 70, 80, 90, 100 pounds. So in order to do that, you want to be significantly overweight, right? So there's that. So we do have the quick pens and the multi-dose vials that are on the horizon, right, that are going to be released at some point soon. Like I told most of you guys, I manage a pharmacy, so I'm also seeing the 9 milligram of the Wegovy pill. So that means that people are moving along in the journey. They have picked up on orders of that, right? Of the pill. I've seen the pill. The first time it was ready at the end of December. The first time people were prescribed at the very end of December. Very, very beginning of January. I think it was very beginning of January, actually, when I first. It was very, very beginning, like maybe the first week of January is when I seen the first first box of that 1.5 of the Wegovy pill. And now people are on the 9. So that's telling me that they're moving through their journeys, right? Trying to get to that 25. And that's going to be a big deal too, because with that 25, you stand to lose about 15% of your body weight. So that snack technology is what stands to help. Why I think orforglipron might actually supersede the sales for that is simply because you won't need to actually eat with it. You can take it right away, right? So it's also using that snack technology, but the fact that you can pretty much just take it immediately, you don't have to, necessarily not eat. I should say not eat, because with the Wegovy pill, you can't eat. You have to wait. But with the orforglipron, you can eat, get your coffee, do whatever you want to do, and just go ahead on about your day. So even though that's showing a little less, I think right around 12%, not 15% weight loss, that'll be significant enough for some people to go ahead and jump on that first, who don't have a lot of weight to lose, because they probably will still lose 16, 17% of their weight on that, that drug. Because we all know that these percentages are averages, right? So when we keep that in mind, people are losing above the average in a lot of cases. It's just the fact that they promote the average as a company because they don't want to oversell you, right? So people that are on these pills will probably lose 15, 16, 17, 18% of their body weight. So they are going to jump right on it. And I also think it'll probably come out at $100 because, or maybe a little more, maybe 125. Because I think they want to pretty much, keep Lilly wants to keep their position as number one, because they actually are number one right now. And I think they will be able to do it if they actually come out at $100. If you come out at $100 with $100 pill, it's something about the $100, man. That $100 mark, and people know they can get their hands on it and not have to do any refrigeration. They can take it anywhere they at and then take it immediately. I think it's going to fly off the shelves, and I think that's what they're planning to do. They might show up and do that pill at $100. You know what I mean? And it'll just help some people that can't afford or even get knocked off their medication to get on that and try to go, up in dose as long as it agrees with them. So. Interesting things. A few of the other ones I think moved, forward too. I know that Pfizer has gotten in the game. I mean, obviously they don't really have a serious contender yet, but they're going to be coming. I hear a lot about the Meritide. A lot about the once a month. Because there's always going to be somebody willing to try something, but I think everybody with that one kind of has that. Oh well, can I actually be taking something for an entire month? You know what I mean? And then dealing with side effects for several weeks. You know what I mean? Like taking something that you only have to take once a month and dealing with side effects for several weeks. You know what I mean? So, but if it proves to actually work well, then man, I think you're gonna have a lot of people, looking at doing that. You know what I mean? So there's that. I feel like I said a whole lot real quickly. Let me go back into the chat because I know I saw some stuff in there. Go back. All right, so we got, throw my glasses on. Let me act like I know. I'm about to jump up and try to read without having my glasses on. All right, so if I jump back in the chat, we got my main man, Paul came in. What up, Paul? What up, Teddy? Teddy says, I like that, and I think it's important to be an individual. I also think it can be difficult when the world tries to shove us all in a box or make us check a box to try to conform to an ideal. Yes, that's exactly what I mean. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, if you titrating up, oh, you gonna be dealing with problems. Like, I mean, come on, we got on this because we had problems. Yeah, different is beautiful, absolutely. Real talk, my man. But I'm here. Yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely. I appreciate y'all for Paul and Teddy. Yeah, man, because it's so much of it out there. Like people, like I don't know what this thing. Y'all get to that high dose. So what? So what? That's what it was created for. We've been waiting for this. Like, you know what I mean, to get these doses. So get on that dose and let it do what it do for you, man. Like whatever that is. You know what I mean? There's people that can't get the dose at all. So be happy that you can get on and get to a highest dose and stop worrying about what dose people on. Be on whatever dose that works for you. And yes, we're gonna have side effects. We're gonna have brain fog and all, but all these things, in my opinion, for people that probably really need this drug are trivial. All these things I keep hearing about the body sensitivity, the brain fog and all that. Yeah, it can happen. Let me tell you, you know what? I'll get personal for you. The first time I took amlodipine, and I ain't never did drugs, but I would probably, and my wife would tell you this, I would probably say it felt like, somebody that took crack. You know what I mean? Like because of how I felt. Like when I first took it, I had never took a drug. And so when you go to amlodipine, and I know this because other people that have hypertension have took it too and told me the same thing. That's why I feel confident saying what they say. It felt like I was on, because when you get that first hit of that amlodipine, it's like nothing you ever felt before. I mean, it's literally like an out of body thing. And that's why I try to back up myself up a little bit with the side effect of not really me feeling like side effects are trivial and not a big deal. Most of them anyway, for me, and again, for me, I'm speaking for myself, and the things that we're explaining, because I've been there. And a lot of these young people ain't never even took a blood pressure or nothing else. So if you're speaking from being on other things, right? I understand it and I'm prepared for it, and it's not a big deal to me. But for some people, when they feel these things, right, it's like, oh my God, what's happening here? You know what I mean? So I did have that with that first pill, but I knew that I had to have it because my blood pressure was insane. When I actually got on that, I had blood pressure readings of 185 over 110. Crisis mode, right? That's where my blood pressure was at. So I had to take it, and it worked, right? But it didn't feel good. It didn't feel good at all, like taking that. I felt like I was, psyched out. but it actually got better. Now I take it and I'm okay. I feel the same thing about these GLP-1 treatments. I think it'll pass. I think the things that we feel will probably pass, right? If it don't, then you address it. But I think that we such in a microwave society that everything's a rush. Because think about it, most of the stuff we're talking about is weeks, months, or maybe a year or two. The OGs, which we call them OGs, the longest they've been on it, the longest probably 3 years. And that's the longest tenured people that was using Manjaro, right? Off label. That ain't no time, a year or two or what, that's nothing. So when we actually go and titrate and do these things, the opinions that we're given is for doing stuff for weeks. That's nothing. How you gonna be on this after a year of titrating down to a 5? Or you think you're gonna still be at your weight? Maybe, maybe not. But time will tell. But you can't get on here and talk to me about, you can do whatever you want. But I'm saying the odds aren't in your favor when you give an experience from doing something for a few weeks or a few months. You gotta get some tenure in there to really say what it's gonna be, because you really still just don't know. You just giving your instant experience on what you feel, which is okay. But it's probably not gonna be the actual end result, right? Because these trials of these medications have been going on for years and years, right? So that's why I'm careful to even talk about a medicine until after a month. I usually give it a month before I actually give my review or my opinion on it, right? And I didn't talk about my 12.5 because until now, because I think I'm almost through 2 months of the medication now. So being through a couple of months, I feel okay talking about it a little bit because I actually have had experience. And I feel like being over a year now on the journey, right, I've gotten to see what taking your pen every single week does for you, because that's what I've done. I've taken my pen every single week. That was one thing that Christopher over at the Downsides had said. He was like, the one thing, bit of advice I give everybody is just take your shot. Take it every single week, right? Because that is true, man. It's so true. Take your shot every single week for the duration, right? And once you get a year or so in, you get to see what the effects are, because it's different. Like right now, I feel like even though the scale slowed up a lot, I still see differences in my body, in myself, and in my face. Like I'm still seeing differences. Like right now, I feel like I have the least amount of inflammation that I've had throughout the whole entire journey. Even with the scale not moving as fast, even though it moved a couple pounds, this week, I feel like I got the least amount of inflammation that I've ever had throughout the whole journey. Why? Because I think that it's starting to catch up. I've taken the pen for such a duration that I'm actually seeing results from just that alone. The consistency and the longevity of actually taking the medication. Other things, right? The clothing, the non-scale stuff. I've been seeing some things, but now I feel like I'm seeing more. You know what I mean? And you can't really explain it until it happens, right? And, like I said, that's what takes me back to like the biggest complaint now about, all this brain fog, that we hearing about. And the thing is, when we watched the physician, right? The physicians, I lost 57 pounds, my blood pressure was great. Then I checked it late around 11, it's sky high. I had to get on medication. Who was that? Let me go back. I had to get on medication. That's what I want people to know. It cut your thing. I think it cut you off. But yeah, I kind of get what you were saying. And welcome. So if you don't follow the channel, please like, subscribe. And if you have the ability to hype the video, because that's a new thing. Here at G's 101, we can get passionate about GLP-1s and health. Why? Because for me, it was life or death, right? My BP during the day and late afternoon, as it was 120. Oh, nice. 120 over 70 is good. That's very good, though. And this is a lovely one. So welcome. You know what I mean? Please like, subscribe, and hype if you have the ability. But yeah, so I get passionate about the health because oftentimes people speak about these things from a position that they simply on it to lose weight. Right? Some of us are on it for so many other things. I had high cholesterol, hypertension, you know what I mean? Like my heart issue, you know what I mean? All of these things are life or death things of a reason why I'm on it. I'm not diabetic, right? And you got people that are diabetic, you know what I mean? Which is one thing, but I had a list of health markers as to why, and they're all very good now. I got a colonoscopy coming up in 2 weeks. to clear that, but everything else is clear. I mean, that will give me a clean bill of health. Once I get my colonoscopy, and my heart ultrasound just as a checkup, an absolute clean bill of health. And that's what these have done. So I'm not a proponent and a cheerleader for GLP-1 just because. I'm a proponent and cheerleader because it actually works. And I'm a walking candidate of that. Like I'm a example of that. I mean, I'm an example of that. All my blood work, it's from that. It ain't just because I'm, counting calories, counting macros, walking. I've been doing that. It ain't enough. And this is why I still, the thing with me is like, I mean, that I feel people, well, if you go and do the, just do the basic stuff, that don't work for a lot of people. You need the treatment. Yes, there's a possibility that one day you might not be able to get the treatment. Well, guess what? I'll try to get another one, right? And the thing is, I understand, hey, you might lose employment. Yes. You might. That's how people stroke out in their sleep. Absolutely. If you don't take your blood pressure, so you gotta check it and take your medication. And I'm still on amlodipine. I'm on the 5 milligram. And I didn't come off of that even with the weight loss and having regular blood pressure. My blood pressure is regularly 120/80, which is normal technically. But I'm not gonna come off because of the irregular heartbeat. If anything, once I lose another 20 pounds or so, which is probably all I'll lose, maybe another 20 pounds, I would titrate down in my blood pressure to probably 2.5. But I'll stay on because of the irregular heartbeat. I'm not going to just come completely off of the medication. I'll go down to 2.5 unless I get some sort of low blood pressure, but I haven't seen that. And that's because my blood pressure was so high before, being all the way up there in that critical, 185 over 110, right? When I wasn't taking blood pressure medication like I should have been, right? Being almost, and I wasn't 300 pounds at that time, but I wasn't taking blood pressure medication. And I was younger, that was more than 10 years ago. Hey, Jen, late to the party, but, better late than never. Better late than never. But appreciate you stopping in. But yeah, I say all that because I think that everybody has an opinion and it's okay. But your why is not what other people's why is, right? A lot of people got on this because of their health. So these side effects I keep hearing just ain't that big. It ain't big enough. They're not serious enough. Not for me. Again, not for me. Right? Brain fog can happen on a whole lot of medications. Whole lot of them. You know what I mean? There's things for that. Work through it. Work through it. You know what I mean? If you need to. If you need to. Because my thing is, I felt that. I feel like I felt worse when I first start taking amlodipine, but it passed. And some of these things will pass, but we have no patience. Everything, I've been experiencing this for weeks. You know what I'm saying? I've been experiencing this for a few months. That's no time. You know why? Because some people have been dealing with these certain things for their entire life. So because you got to deal with something for weeks or months, it's not the worst thing in the world. But again, let's make the conversation make sense. If you're somebody that's a younger person who that don't have a serious thing going on health-wise, by all means, do your thing. Do your thing. If you can come off, you can do this, go do it. But for a lot of us, these side effects that people are saying you should titrate down for aren't that big a deal because we talking about life and death for a lot of people. And for me, that's open and shut. No rap. It ain't nothing you can get on these airwaves and try to tell me about life and death if you ain't experienced. If you're not experienced, having somebody that sat down and saying that, hey, you can have a stroke, heart attack, or die, right? If you haven't heard that, then you ain't in my wheelhouse. We can have a conversation, but you ain't been here. So if you ain't got here, then you can't talk. You can talk to me, but you just don't know what it's like. So we're going to have a differing opinion, right? And for me, it was a fact. That was a fact of matter for my health. And so that's why I'm okay with titrating wherever the heck I got to titrate to. And I'm okay with it. And I'm proud of it. And I'm going to stay right where I'm at because it's doing wonders for me, right? And for anybody else, you shouldn't feel a certain kind of way because you're on a higher dose. Get on your dose and do what you got to do, right? So that's enough of that. I'm not going to, berate that anymore. It is what it is. I said all that to say, dare to be different. Do what it is that works for you and understand that these are individual journeys, right? We all have individualized biology, right? I wasn't on blood pressure medication. I didn't think I needed it. I only knew I needed it when I checked my late last night. Most people only check during the day and may miss it. Yes. Well, lovely one. I'm glad that you did and you are taking care of it now. Right, because that is very important, and it definitely is a silent killer, right? But that is definitely a thing. So I didn't have a bunch of topics, but to really laid out to really go over tonight. But I wanted to get in and just holler at the people, because I always say that I would like to stick to my word and jump in here and make sure that I'm actually giving y'all something every single week. And that was just something that was like kind of on my heart, because I seen so much of that this week. Like, and it's not this one; it's everywhere. It's like all these titrate down. Like, for what? For what? The medication was created, you know what I mean, and studied up to 15 milligrams, right, on thousands of people. That's deemed safe, right? It's deemed safe, meaning it's not life or death. So therefore, if you have side effects, brain fog included, right, it too may pass, right? You have to determine whether or not you can deal with it, So I'm on a higher dose, right? I guess since I've been on the 10, when I started the 10, that was considered high dose, and that was back in September, right? So that's almost 6 months that I've been on a higher dose. But I've been on this 12.5 for about 2 months, right? So, and I actually am loving it. So, and I think that, we should start giving out that experience. So if you need to go to 12.5, go to 12.5. If you need to go to 15, go to 15, right? We don't go beyond that because we don't have a trial beyond that. We only do what's deemed safe based on thousands of people being studied on it, period. That's all I'm saying. Am I saying try to go beyond your dose, do something? No, but do not be afraid of going to the highest dose. And no, I don't want to hear about, when you get to the 15, what you going to do? Try something else. When you get to the 15, if that don't work, which I think it will work though. That's the key in there. I think the 15 works, and it works well. If you need that, right? If you need it. But don't worry about, I'm going to be, once I get to that, what I'm going to do after that? Try something else, because it's coming. It's coming. There's so many drugs in the pipeline, as treatments in the pipeline, that you will be able to try if you get to 15, right? Sure, with a big check for you staying on the lower. Yeah, you tell them, Jen, right? Ain't nobody showing no big check from the lower. And I feel like people got this badge of honor. Oh, well, I went down and I'm okay. So, like, I don't care. Go down then. You go down and then sit there and wallow on your pillow at night with food noise driving you crazy, like a fool. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. That doesn't make sense. You have a treatment that can actually help that. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the treatment. I'm going to be proud doing it. So stop shaming people for actually going up in dose and not titrating down. Who gives a shit? Honestly, I'm sorry, but I don't care. Like, then you go down. You do what's good for you. But I'm going up if I need to go up. So simple as that. So that's my whole thing. Like, you know what I mean? I'm going to be what I need to do, because L is working on 20 milligrams in 2025. They coming to get. No, I don't think so, Jen. I think they're going to segue. I know about that, but I think they dampen. They have so many other things coming out. They won't need it. I really don't think you're going to need it. You don't need to keep going up on the same hormones, right? I think these particular receptors that we're working on, at 15, as long as yo, what up, RMZ? What's going on? These particular, I think that people that's still saying that ain't paying attention. They ain't paying attention. 15 milligrams, don't worry about it. If you got to go to 15, go to 15, because they got some stuff coming for you. Trust me. The treatments are coming. You know what I mean? The treatments are coming. Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is they're Zep loyalists because they don't have the other treatments, right? But once they see the other treatments and they actually get that food noise and the things that drove them to it to begin with, that's going to actually probably send them, segue into something else if need be. If need be, because I started this whole thing by saying that for me, it was life or death, right? If this ain't a life or death thing for you, then we can't have that conversation, because you ain't where I'm at. This was life or death for me. So therefore, I'm going to do what I need to do. And I don't care about you worrying about what I'm titrating to. I titrate what I need to, because that's what it's about. This ain't about me looking a certain way for somebody else. This is about me and my health and being around. Point blank, period. So I don't care about these, the side effects of brain fog. Okay, I'll deal with it when I get to it, right? It is what it is. It is what it is. Those are side effects we know about, and we can deal with them. So you deal with it. But I feel like it's okay, and we need to actually start preaching that. And that's why I'm doing this, loud and proud, because somebody got to say it. It's okay to be on a higher dose if you feel like if you and your doctor deem it necessary for you. Don't worry about the titrating down. You did all, and then lo and behold, these people that's coming all the way off. Like, you know what I'm saying? Coming all the way off is like, what the hell are you doing? You know what I'm saying? You coming all the way off, You did all of this for what? Right? And stop telling me, oh, well, I gained 3 or 4 pounds. Yeah, in the last month, you've been on this journey for damn near 2 years. So you think that your real results is what's happened over the last two months? That's nothing compared to what's going to happen if you don't get your behind back on your treatment. Point blank, period. Hey, Darren, what's up? What's going on? But that's my whole thing. Like you keep playing around if you want to. You lose all of that progress. You come off of your medication, and then you gain this weight, right? Sometimes a little bit, sometimes all of it, right? And then the treatment's not working the same way for you the next time. You're gonna be, sorry, So that's my whole thing. I'm not going nowhere. I'm staying right on it, and I'll go to whatever that is. I'm a fix my health loyalist. I'm not loyal to Eli, Novo, Zepbound, Wegovy, none of them. I'm loyal to what works. And so far, Zepbound has worked. So I will big them up for that. And Lily ain't playing because even on the basketball game today, hey, Paul, you know what I'm saying? Ain't no loyalists in this. Ain't none of them giving me no check. So my whole thing is I'm only championing what worked. It worked for me, right? I'm all about the numbers because men lie, women lie, but the numbers don't. You know what I mean? And my numbers stay that Zepbound work. You know what I'm saying? At the higher dose. Regardless of the percentage. So you gonna tell me about no side effect? You know what I mean? You can't tell me about no side effect. You know what I mean? I don't. Side effects are a part of the game. You know what I'm saying? I get side effects when I take a Tylenol. I ain't stopped. I still got a cabinet full. So it is what it is. But sometimes people do this thing just for they do these and say these things just to like grow their channel. I get it, and just for content. But I think that people got to realize that for some of us, this is life or death. And it was life or death for me. It was life or death for me, literally. I was a mess. High cholesterol, hypertension, my heart issues, you know what I'm saying? This osteoarthritis, you know what I mean? The way I was feeling mentally, you know what I mean? Like it was a bad thing, man. And then the doctor telling me what she told me, about the heart attack potential, right? So when you get these people that get on here and they just on it because they were larger and they wanted to get a bit smaller and look good. We ain't the same. You know what I'm saying? We not the same. We not the same. And that's right, Paul. I'm passionate about this because it's for real. I'm not on here playing games. That's why I wasn't going to be a content creator at first. And I said, well, I'm doing a disservice if I don't do it because some people need, logic. You know what I'm saying? I feel like sometimes I'm the voice of reason or logic that's missing. So I didn't want to, not be someone to actually spread the wealth. You know what I mean? So I feel like I'm blessed because I bless people every day, right? So that's why I said I'm going to still go ahead and do the content. But people get on your nerves like with the stupid stuff. They get on here, it's just trivial stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Worrying about dosing and you're right. Because what about outcomes, right? What about outcomes? Because really that's what it's about. It's about outcomes. It ain't about titration. It ain't about like, you know what I mean? Like Darren like to call it the messy middle, right? The messy middle is a part of the game. You know what I mean? You gotta, that's a part of the game. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's about outcomes. What are the outcomes? And right now, from what I'm seeing, the outcomes are winning, right? So whatever it is that you got to do by any means necessary, you do that. You do whatever that takes. You know what I mean? And if that means you on a higher dose, be on a higher dose and be proud about it. I did everything but get a damn shirt that's saying I'm on a higher dose. You know what I'm saying? And I'll go to the 15 in a minute if I need to. I don't need to because I feel like, the 12 is working wonders for me. But if it ever didn't, one day, then I'll be on the 15 because of what I look like. I'm crazy. You got people sitting here waiting for new drugs to come out. And I'll be damned if I'm going to sit here and not go to a drug that's available because somebody's going to say, why you on that? Because what you going to do after that? I'm going to use another one. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go over there to that one, to the other treatment that they made because I already maxed that one. That's what I'm going to do if I need to. But guess what? I don't think we will because I think it's that good. It's that good and it really works. And I think that once you get there, you'll be just fine, right? But stop being shamed because people keep talking about don't go to the highest dose. This is crazy. And I guess this has been a thing, but because I wasn't on a higher dose, it didn't resonate and I didn't hear it. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I hear it all the time. You on that 12, you on that 15. What you going to do now? I'm going to take it. And then I'm going to take something different if this stops working. Why? Because it's going to be available. And if you don't think it's going to be available, you're just not paying attention. You're really not paying attention. There's so many treatments coming down the pipeline that's being studied right now that you don't know nothing about, and you're not hearing about it, but it's coming. And they're gonna have stuff for everybody. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be, they're going to have more weight loss treatments than any other drugs that we've ever seen before. Why? Because it's so damn profitable. You know what I mean? And it works. It really works. And they know what they're doing. You know what I mean? So I don't think we need to be worried about at this point. Before, I would have said, yeah, you probably do want to worry about, getting up to that highest dose. You know what I mean? But not now. You don't got to worry about it because they got so many things that's coming. Now, I will say, I do think that by the time you get there, you probably achieved the result you were looking for. And if you didn't, you can go to something else, right? Very soon, very soon. So there's that. Now it's like when I get to the end, everybody, this always happens. By the time I didn't schedule the live like I wanted to because there was so many things that was going on. Like I said, I had a Zoom earlier in regards to the networking events that me and my wife do. So that actually kind of like, it didn't put me behind, but it wasn't, it was outside the norm, you know what I mean? So that's where, like I said, I just kind of drew inspiration from everything that I had been seeing over the number of days with people titrating down, switching this, that, and the third, which is all part for the course, is a part of the game, right? Because it's highly individualized, right? So this conversation wasn't about people titrating down, so to speak, right? Or even people being on higher doses. I started this talking about your own personal why as to why you're on the drug, and the fact that because of people complaining about side effects, which is part for the course, it is what it is. You're going to have side effects, but they're not life or death. So we deal with them. And about it being individualized. It's highly individualized. So, but when we speak, a lot of times we speak in broad terms, like, okay, because I titrate down, y'all need to do it too. Because basically, when you get up there, you're going to experience that. Well, so what? I probably am going to experience that, but it's okay. I welcome it because I'm here. I'm still alive, and I can deal with it, right? I'm highly functional. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is what I mean about conversations, especially amongst content creators. Because me in a day, with all the things that I do, I'll probably run circles around these people, right? From multiple businesses, right? My regular work, and still making time to come here and speak to, you guys and kids on different levels, right? In different levels of school, all that stuff. So if I can do that, you can do it, right? So a lot of these people have a job, right? And might not even be in a relationship. You know what I'm saying? No offense, but I'm just saying, I'm also a married person. So I do all of these things, right? And I'm 45, you got some people on here 60, right? So, but I'm just saying, if you young people got one job doing one thing, you know what I mean, and complaining about side effects, that's crazy. That's just crazy. You know what I mean? You can't, in this life, we got wins and losses, gives and takes, right? You got to give something to get something, right? But, it is what it is. You live and you learn. But if you are here, welcome to G's One of One. Please like, please subscribe, and please hype if you have the ability. So that way people know that this is content that you want to see. I didn't even actually get to write a description like I usually do because I came right in hot, you know what I mean, and just decided to actually land the video, right? But once I conclude, I will go back and actually put a topic to this, a thumbnail, and go ahead and put the description. So that way, like I said, you guys can go in and like, subscribe, and make sure that you actually hype the video. But yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to come in. People that actually came in late, just to recap before we go, I actually started out talking about me being on a 12.5, me being just 4 pounds, a little less than 4 pounds away from being classified as overweight and not obese, right? So that's a short-term goal for me, is to get another 4 pounds off, get under 220, and actually be classified as just overweight, right? Because I'm 223, I've lost 30%, exactly, 96 pounds, 30% of my actual body weight, so far in 58 weeks. So, like I said, you got retatrutide that everybody is in the uproar trying to get and can't wait till it comes out. That's actually promising 30% loss in 68 weeks. So on Zepbound, I've actually, and Miss Brown entered the chat. She says, yes, keep going. So everybody met my wife. We did our Valentine's weekend couples edition, and a lot of people said that they loved it. So that is something that I feel like was a really good reception. Everybody liked that and talking about her journey. She titrated to that 10. RMZ, I know you said you wanted to see what that first couple of weeks like. She just took it yesterday. So You know, I think it probably got her a little sleepy, but that's pretty much it. You know what I mean? For the most part, we did go to a buffet, so she kind of waited a little bit. You know, she went ahead and she went out the night before, and then she went ahead and took her dose. And which is crazy. We went to a buffet right after the shot. So yeah. But she loving it though. She loving it. There's a buffet here. Called the Royal Buffet and Grill, where they have all you can eat lobster. So if y'all go to my story on my Instagram, y'all can see it. It's literally all you can eat lobster. All you can eat lobster. Like, where they do that at? All you can eat lobster. That's crazy. So you can see that on there. Like, and it was I mean, it was good. They had lamb, they had ribeye, they had, I mean, you name it. Everything that you could think of being super expensive. And guess what? It was only $40 a person. It's $40 a person. So I'm telling y'all, it is absolutely amazing. Yes, it is. But Jim, we actually were able to do it because even there, we, as long as we eat in a certain portion, we got to try everything. And that's kind of how we do. You know what I mean? And again, it was one of those things that you have to do because it's unbelievable. I don't know how long it's gonna last, but it's an all you can eat lobster buffet. You know what I'm saying? And my kids never had lobster, but they had it yesterday. My son loved it. You know what I mean? So they had lobster, they had lamb, they had, I mean, ribeye, they've had shrimp, they had crab, they had crab stuff, the crab stuffed shells with, the stuffed shells with the crab meat, or any fruit you can think of. They had like the soul food too, like the chicken and the macaroni and the cornbread, all of the Asian dishes. I wasn't tempted by anything on the buffet. Had to be $3,000. Nope, Darren. It was $40, Darren. $40. So if you make your way down by it's literally near the stadium, right? It's near where all our stadiums are here in Philadelphia. Here, like in the Philadelphia area. Like if you go down to South Philly, where we have like the Eagles, the Sixers, like the Link, Wells Fargo, and Citizens, where all of our teams play. It's probably like 5 or 6 minutes from there, which is across the world for me because I live in the suburbs. So that was like over an hour, and there was a lot of traffic there too. So it took a while, for me to get down there, but because we live right outside of Philly, but it was so well worth it. And it was a line. We actually had to wait in line too in the cold to get in there. So when we first pulled up, my wife was like, look, she's like, we ain't playing this too well because we got to stand. And then you can't make reservations. You got to show up and get in line. And the thing is, there was a line outside the buffet. So that was crazy. But when she got in, it was well worth it. And my son enjoyed it. He went a million times because, he's a growing football player. So he was eating, like crazy. So he loved it. And then my daughter, the 7-year-old, she was very good. So I know she enjoyed it because when she's being good, I know she enjoying the food. So, I mean, it was all that. I'll tell you that, man. It's literally like fine dining. Now, obviously, when you go out with a family of 4, you're probably spending, almost like fine dining anyway because you got all them heads. But for the most part, like I said, it's $40 a person. So that is unbelievable, and you can't beat it. So if you go to my story, like I said, on Instagram, you can check it out. It was very, very good. I had, now, obviously, with the lobster, you're just going to pop out and eat the tail. So I had probably like 3 lobsters. Got 3 lobster tails. I probably had like 3 lobster tails in that butter. I had some salmon. I had a little teeny piece of ribeye. Y'all know I ain't going nowhere without getting a little bit of ribeye. I had to taste that. That was good. I had a little bit of lamb. Yeah, I mean, I really, looked like snails on a buffet. Yep. And you name it, Darren, they had it. You name it, they had it. They had all of the sushi you can eat. I'm not a sushi eater. I don't eat sushi. But if you like sushi, I mean, whatever you can think of, like in your mind, as far as that, they had it. They had it. Look at her. She in the chat talking about waiting in line for the food. Yeah. So it was amazing. But yeah, go check it out, man. Check it out on my story. I got what I could because it was so many people. It was kind of like hard to get a lot of footage in there. But I first saw it on YouTube by a creator that goes to like all the buffets, and I said, we going there. We gotta go there because I mean, we always get like lobster and steak and all that expensive food, but to go and get it for $40, man, it's unbelievable. And I do also like it for some of the community that kind of expense might be out of reach. They actually get to enjoy it. You know what I mean? They had busloads of people pulling up. All of the groups, they say like, how many is in your party? I was hearing a lot of 8s and 10s and 12s, like so. There was loads of people going in there. So they making a killing. I actually spoke to the owner too. He was like standing right up front, and I actually spoke to him really quick. And, of course he had a smile ear to ear because his business is doing amazing. He did say that pretty much if everybody in here came in and just simply ate lobster and nothing else, he would go broke. But for the most part, people don't, because you know the trick with buffets is they put a lot of carbs out. They put a lot of like the breads and the drinks, so that way you fill up on the bread and drinks and don't eat so much food, right? So that's usually what they do in order to save money. And a lot of the kids, that's what they do. Now, kids, I would say if they're like, let's say probably 12 and under, you know, maybe not, maybe like 10 and under, they actually only about $15 on the weekends. But my son, you know, I mean, he's 5'7" and 145 pounds, so he had to pay like an adult. So, but even still, paying $40 a person is definitely well worth it. So, yeah. But just to recap the video, like I said, I started out just talking about myself being on 12.5, down to 223 pounds, just 4 pounds out of being classified as, you know, just overweight and not obese. I think is simply amazing. I am starting to see just for myself, being on the medication as long as I have, taking my shot every single week, staying hydrated, it is actually showing changes in my body I didn't think I would actually see outside of the scale. Like I said, I did lose 2 pounds this week, but outside of the scale, I'm seeing the reduction in inflammation like everywhere. So I'm actually seeing a difference in my body. And I'm very happy, you know, that, you know, like I said, I can applaud everything as far as my lab work. I got my colonoscopy coming up in 2 weeks along with my heart ultrasound. They're actually like a day apart, I believe. I think the heart ultrasound was probably like a day before. I have to check that. Or no, the week before. The heart ultrasound was 1 week before, then the colonoscopy is the week after. And, you know, after those things, I can pretty much say I have a clean bill of health. So I feel blessed, right? So, yeah, and we were talking about titration, and don't be ashamed to titrate. If you got to titrate, you got to be on a higher dose, be on a higher dose. Yes, they come with side effects, but that's all par for the course. It's part of the game, right? You got brain fog. I mean, the things that people are saying, the reason to get like, oh, don't titrate up. I mean, I'm not going to titrate up because of brain fog. I mean, half of these mental drugs cause brain fog, but you still got to take it. Still got to take your medicine. Take your medicine. Take a nap, and you'll be okay. You'll be fine. With the assistance of your doctor, right? Because like I said, always refer to your physician. But, you know, I feel like, you know, it's well worth it. All right. All right, guys. So I'm not going to hold you long. Thanks for everybody who jumped in, even the ones who jumped in late. Please, like I said, like, subscribe, hype the video. And we will actually see you guys again next Sunday. Same time, same back channel. Later. My obesity warriors, stand up. We in this together. Good night.